Hello, hello, hello. What up, Josh?
I just pressed record in Adobe Audition, but I remembered we're not doing Audition this week, Rod. We're doing something else.
That's next week.
Yeah.
Something happened, and luckily, Josh and I are both giant horror fanatics, and let's talk about something else. Oh, wait, we both watched this brand new movie on HBO Max and in theaters, but you're in Canada where theaters don't exist, and
Apparently
I don't go to any theater.
Apparently this week they're probably opening again in Calgary, but I'm not going. I get my first COVID shot next week because I had such an issue trying to book in with AHS and everything. So now it's finally booked for next week. Well, actually, I had it booked for tomorrow, but I got tattooed today, and my tattoo artist was like, "Don't fucking do it." I did it. I got my knee done, and I got my COVID shot the day after, and it was the worst thing I could have ever decided to do. So please don't make my mistake. So, hey, whatever.
Why?
We're smart, at least, and both saw Conjuring. So we're smart.
Yeah, we did. Yes, we did. The devil made me do it. But I wonder why does it because you get sore. If you don't know, if you've never been tattooed, you're repeatedly punching your skin with a needle, right? Like, so you're usually sore the day after. Not let alone itchy. Well, the itchy will happen in a couple days.
He got his knee done, and that's a bad spot to get tattooed.
Yeah.
Anyways, and mine was a 5-hour session on my full sleeve, so your body goes into almost like recovery mode while you're sick and it's recovering. Like, so if you're getting big work done, your body pretty much does the same thing. So if you're doing that and then trying to get over a COVID shot at the same time, your body's probably just like, fuck you, man. So
you're like, why the fuck are you doing all this shit to me at the exact same time? You dumb motherfucker.
You beat my arm, you beat yourself up for 5 hours and then give yourself COVID? Like, fuck, man. Like, no.
Yeah.
So next week.
Exactly, man.
Next week.
That's good, man. And then you got, which one? Are you getting Pfizer?
I have no clue. I just said, give me a COVID shot. And they said, when do you want it? And I said, cool.
Now. You said now. Give it to me now. No, wait. No, not now. No, next week. Next week.
Oh, I actually have to call back and go, sorry. Do you have more spots?
And everyone, if you haven't figured, I am Rod. This is Josh. We are Murder Moose, part of the Slashing Cast Podcast Network.
Or what?
So,
no, you saw the movie I was talking about, and now we should get a soundbite from that movie. The moose sound.
Yeah, oh, dude. I'm probably gonna go look for it and see and get it, and then I'll put it somewhere
because it's such a
post.
heartfelt moment in that movie as well. That's the versus the apocalypse. What is it?
No, it's the something versus the machines.
Machines, right? What is the fucking name? I've watched it like 3 times now, and this is how good I am with remembering stuff.
Oh, dude, I'm bad. I'm terrible with names. Dude. So we're not a movie news podcast, but there are some things that pique my interest, and
Evil Dead.
I'm curious.
Dude,
what?
New Evil Dead movie just started filming this week.
Yeah, they just started shooting. Yeah,
fuck, I'm stoked on that. Like,
I hope it's good, man. It's weird in the universe of it. Apparently, is on the universe of the original trilogy, not the new. Not the remake from 2013.
And that was fucking. If anyone has gripes with that movie, lick a butt, because that movie was fucking fantastic.
No, they don't deserve to lick a butt, because licking a butt is a magical experience.
Right.
But lick a gorilla's butt, because then that gorilla's gonna beat you up afterwards. The thing was, and it was weird, like, do you ever go into a movie and, like, you don't know what you fully expect to see? I went into that movie with some weird thing in my head where, like, I thought it was going to be like Evil Dead 2. And, like, I was like, but this is way so hardcore. Like, I don't know why it was like that. Like, it was that, yeah. And
I loved how they grounded it more in reality and gave the people an actual, like, reason to be at the cabin that made sense. I was like, she has a drug problem. They are forcing her here out of her will, or kind of in her will as well. But, like, they're all there for her. And it gave it purpose and direction. Yeah. And it was fucking... I felt like it was more grounded in reality, which made it like all work that much better in my eyes.
Yeah, and they also had a main character who you don't know is the main character for a lot of the movie because she's the one with the problems and whatnot, and like how everything. They do a really good job because they also make Ash a female.
Yeah,
and all that stuff. So there's a lot of things that movie is cool and changes a lot. That director, Freddie, whatever his fucking name is it Alvarez? Yeah, is a talented motherfucker, man. Because
way too talented. I fucking love him.
Don't Breathe is a fucking metal ass movie, man, and like
the tension,
that shit, like,
and to make a turkey baster like so scary. Wow, you're doing some shit right, man. Well, it's that one cube that he chose to put in the little mixture as well. It just makes it so much grosser, man.
That whole like that dude is a real fucking monster, man. And it's it's that whole thing where it's like it's the whole don't judge a book by a cover, and they judge this dude because he was blind. Nah, man, this dude's still a fucking monster. And not that he wasn't rightfully so kind of a monster in that movie, but he was still a monster. And yeah, it man fucks shit up. No, but the other thing I wanted to talk about, news wise, is Rob Zombie is directing a monsters movie.
Hey man, I think it's right up his alley, to be honest.
Visually, everything. Has Rob Zombie ever, like, I think the movie with his most likable characters are probably Lords of Salem, and those aren't. The guy likes shitty people as characters, and he always roots for shitty people.
Yep.
How do you do that with these iconic characters of the monsters? Like, is
it going to be a real live action one? Do you know any more other than
I assume it? I think it said it was live action. But
I'm not sure how much. I don't know, because like I know his like Rob Zombie like music video, ultra like black light colors and like in your face like Halloween style, going with the monsters and like making it more like gritty. I'm totally down for it. But if it's real life and he's trying to make it like that, then it's not going to work whatsoever.
And that's what I'm worried about. Like, and also, you can't make a monsters movie rated R. Like, you can't. I don't think that works with the characters. And it's like, I guess you could, but again, it's going to end up.
I don't think it's going to. Seeing the logo, just the art direction of the logo with his name above it, it made it look more like a PG-13
or like, even a PG movie.
Like Goosebumps style movie.
Yeah.
Rather than.
And I really like Zombie, I think, more than a lot of people do. Like his and I think I point that out because that's my first thing, and I'm like, I hope, because man, visually that dude can tell a fucking story, and I think a lot of it goes down to his obsession. Sure. His obsession with shitty people is what he ends up like writing these characters that are just like,
but those are not for most people in like real life, because he went down those paths as like the biker dude fucking playing metal music and like whatever, right? Those are probably just like skinny dudes that he met on the fucking side of the road on the way to his next.
But he always talks about, you hear him talk about characters, and he always talks about like rooting for the shitty people in these movies and stuff like that. I think that's what it is. It's just like he's like, for some reason, those are the characters that get his like whatever. Yeah. And then I mean, it makes sense. You go look at his characters like the Fireflies, and it's just like that are entertaining characters, but they're horrible individuals. And you go, well, and then you take this iconic family that is like a bunch of monsters, and you go, well, if he goes and stays, stays close to the roots, but also upstates it. And Zombie always visually is awesome as a director, right? Like
I need to hear your opinion on 3 from Hell, because I fucking hated that movie and was I was so disappointed, because those are his iconic characters, and that's the movie you gave them.
The problem with that movie, I didn't hate it. I enjoyed a lot of it, but the problem with it is you start off you basically go and make fucking Halloween 5, where like your main character at the previous movie got shot with 1,000 bullets, and then you're playing off that and Michael Myers fell down a fucking well, but like you're playing off this weird situation with these human characters where like all three of them were, and you fucking shoot them off. So that's a little weird. And then it's like the whole Sid Haig thing where he's in it, but he's not really in it, and he died while it was happening. It fucking sucks. And I like the guy, the dude they had come in, the new third one, right? Who's been in all his stuff. He was like Chop Top or whatever in 31. Like that actor is always real dope and fucking like intimidating and good. But like it's that thing where it's like the whole movie kind of feels like not necessary, right? Like you're talking about, like everyone talks about how good The Devil's Rejects is, and that movie had the perfect fucking closing because they like Bonnie and Clyde or Thelma and Louise. They fucking go out being these like evil bastards that like just they're never gonna reform. They're never gonna be good people. So they're like, okay, we're gonna kill them off.
I heard an interview that because it was like a studio film and they were putting a lot of eggs in the Rob Zombie basket, and then they pretty much didn't know what the fuck to do with the movie. Like he had a really expensive crew of really talented filmmakers on board from the studio as well. So I feel like that is why that movie was so much better than the ones that he ended up funding and doing all the way by himself, because he didn't have really good talented people going, no, don't do it that way, let's do it this way, because we know what the fuck we're doing. You have really good ideas and really good direction, but we're not just making a Rob Zombie film. We're making a studio film by Rob Zombie. And that's why that one, I feel, transcends everything, because it was this weird lightning in a bottle that he was like waiting for them to fuck off. And they ended up pretty much doing that at the end, because they're like, we don't know what the fuck to do with this. And I didn't feel like 31 or 3 from Hell or the Lords of Salem had that same awesomeness that House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects had. Like those were just way too good.
Lords of Salem might be my favorite zombie movie. Like I know that Devil's Reject is his best movie, but I think Lords of Salem might be my favorite one of his movies, because it's the most grounded of his movies in a lot of ways. Like where it's that movie where it does.
His wife
and I still
killed
think
it in that role though. Like she fucking did a really good job.
That scene where she's walking past the kitchen and the fucking thing is up in the corner, like above the refrigerator.
Yeah, that was really good.
Is, I think, his best, one of his best, if not his best scenes, like ever, of one of his movies. Like I think I've seen all of his movies at this point, all of his directed movies. Like 31 was okay, it was entertaining, but he still does stupid fucking shit, like where he goes, okay, I'm gonna make a midget Hitler. Like it's like, sorry, a little person Hitler, and like just does stuff that's like so zombie that like seems like it's in a movie right out of like 1993 for White Zombie, and I'm just like, you know,
I felt like 31 was just how many Rob Zombie characters can I Rob Zombie in a Rob Zombie Rob Zombie, and I was just like,
I think the ending of that was probably the best part of that whole movie. Like I think it it kind of corrected a lot of the issues with that movie, and it like kind of made it out like, because that guy, the same actor we're talking about who went into 3 from Hell, did a really good job of being that menacing motherfucker that they just couldn't deal with. Like
he was
that movie was kind
one that like was a standout for me in that movie. He was
that
really
dude is
good.
Yeah, he's always good with zombie. Like that opening black and white scene is fucking dope, and that was like a lot of what it was, and it was, that movie felt like Rob Zombie remakes Running Man, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, you know, or Rob Zombie does Smash TV or something like that.
It felt like a few movies I'd seen before. I'm just like, well, I've kind of like seen this done.
Yeah.
Like these are scarier looking characters for sure, because they're Rob Zombie thought up, and visually they're more horrifying, but it's not as much of a circus show like House of a Thousand Corpses was. That was like creepy, and like it felt like Texas Chainsaw, like a place that you
that's
really
what it was.
don't want to be.
Yeah. It was Texas Chainsaw Massacre updated to 2000 or whatever year it was with modern people, like, and it was through that zombie filter, right? Like, it's very George Lucas in the fact that, like, none of his ideas are super original, right? It's like that. Never. It's that, like, eye he has for filmmaking, which is like, I think visually he does a really good job. He's kind of like Zack Snyder horror wise, like, right? His best aspect is his visuals.
All my favorite stuff, directors, right? or the people that used to do music videos first and get their visual style. Like Fincher did all the craziest and best music videos, and now he's fucking one of the best directors. It's like once you hone your craft visually and have an area with music to flex that and show people what you're capable in, it always it transcends, man.
It forces you to tell a story in like 3 minutes, like 3.5, 4 minutes. Like, it's something. It's the band that I've been fucking like obsessed with the last 3 or 4 months is Ice Nine Kills, and Ice Nine Kills has their whole album, their whole last album, The Silver Screen, is every single song's about a horror movie, and their music videos are fucking dope because they're all like, they take 3-minute songs and tell like make them 9-minute music videos where they're like doing these really cool things because they're doing everything in this, and it's not just about that, but like they're visually cool and they do a lot of cool stuff, and their whole like
watch Necrogoblicon videos. Their whole their whole thing is about this character who's this little goblin, but their videos are fucking hilarious and all like way better horror movies than some of the fucking things that we've seen. And it's just like putting this weird goblin, like he's going to the office now and he's got to fucking deal with the shit in the office. Fucking hilarious, man.
It kind of reminds me of the Rick and Morty where they watch the interdimensional cable, and they have the one where the guy's just running around stealing shit from an office. If you know what I'm talking about, that's kind of what it reminds me of. But yeah, so it'll be basically what it comes down to in this whole like rant of everything. I think that the potential is cool. I think Rob Zombie's gonna have to pull back his Rob Zombie-ness, but like I think that like if he gets the right people with him and he gets the right crew, like you were talking about the crew on The Devil's Rejects, has a lot of like, because that's what he is. I mean, he's not a trained filmmaker, right? He learned how to do it by sitting on the job, which isn't bad, but like,
what was I watching?
It teaches him.
I really he literally just went into the studio, and I think he was there for to meet someone else, and then he was like called in randomly, and then he just started like hanging out. And then they're just like, oh, okay. And like, then he got a movie because he was just kind of there at the right time. And he's like, I shouldn't be here. And I shouldn't like have this much power. And that's what makes him so much more punk rock. And it makes me love him so much more in this area, because that's such a punk rock fucking way to land on your feet and just keep going. Because why the fuck not? You're Rob Zombie and you have talent, man. So...
Yeah, dude, it's funny because that man, like, there's a lot of people in the horror community now who are a little bit younger, right, and don't know what kind of fucking juggernaut that man was in the 90s specifically, like from the White Zombie days into the early, like the Rob Zombie as a musician of himself, and like what he did as like fucking Dragula. That song was everywhere for years, right? Like that song was everywhere for a year. It was like there were like 5 video games every year that had that song in it, and like the commercials.
PlayStation 1 called Sled Storm, and that was like it only had like 5 fucking songs, so like that song was just like on repeat as I'm like doing fucking airs off. Fucking that is, it was like everywhere. My childhood. PlayStation 1, Dragula, like, man.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's how big that song was. It was that point where they were able to put real audio. Like when the PlayStation came out, they were able to put real audio, and that he was so big at that point for like that metal or hard rock scene.
Yeah.
And like the dude is super talented, and I appreciate someone who has that, and again, not everyone, but he just does stuff he wants to do, which is, like you said, is so punk rock, and it's so like.
I feel the same way about Eli Roth. Him getting like big pictures and stuff. Like he is the like grassroots come up in the scene, and like I love following people and directors and filmmakers like that. Like we talked about it last week, man. I love what's his name, David F. Sandberg, like coming up from Lights Out, and it was like a short film he put on YouTube and Facebook, and it just blew up, and now he's like in the Conjuring universe. And to be honest, Annabelle Creation is like, other than Conjuring 1, it goes straight to Annabelle Creation, because David F. Sandberg made that movie so filled with tension. Like, it was insane. He would layer it, like one scene right after another would just be like, ee! Like that drawn out, like, oh fuck, what's gonna happen? Slap you in the face with the jump scare. But it had the build up and enough, like, before that it was a payoff.
Yeah. I need to rewatch that movie because it was, I think I thought that the movie was bad, and I don't know how well I paid attention to it. I like the third one a lot, the Comes Home.
I thought that was really well done, good characters, but I just, David F. Sandberg is Lights Out that is my nightmare though. Like that, the shadow figure is literally one of the only things that genuinely creeps the shit out of me. And he did it so well in Lights Out, and his come up story is just like what I would hope for so many more filmmakers, including myself. Like, if I could create something and do like a short film about it and get noticed because of my just love for horror and stuff. That's fuck. I just hurt myself so bad.
Oh no! I had to mute my mic for a second because Gizmo was losing his fucking mind over here, and I'm like, "Honey, come get him!" And then she's yelling, and I'm like, "No, honey, I'm on a podcast. Can't do that." No,
I just went to push my chair in and take my shorts out at the same time, and like smashed both my hands into my desk full force, and then bumped my fresh tattoo. It was pretty.
Josh, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, it was
okay. You're not supposed to do that, Josh. No, I mean.
Oh wait, and he's wearing a shirt that says "Hail Gizmo." So everyone, right now, take a second, and everyone, "Hail Gizmo!
Hail Gizmo! Hail Gizmo!" If you guys don't know, I have a French bulldog named Gizmo who runs everything. So, okay, Josh, we're gonna talk about this movie that just actually came out last week. It's called The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It.
We are you want to read show about indie and or foreign, and this is neither. So
no, but we've diverged a couple of times. Like, I talked about The Howling one of the weeks. You were like in a funk, and like, I don't mind talking about other stuff. I just like featuring other stuff, and this was a pretty dope movie because we haven't had big like studio horror for a long time now. Like, this is like the first one.
COVID.
Because like the last big studio horror movie that came out was really like The Invisible Man. So like, we're going like a year and a half at this point, really, where we've seen this big. I mean, we had like Quiet Place 2, which just came out too, so like that's there too. But like, this is kind of celebrating that.
Is a bigger. They're all kind of stacked up and coming out at the exact same time because they were slated probably for last year, and now we're just getting them, right? So this one is about the Warrens investigate a murder that may be linked to a demonic possession. That's all you got, IMDb? Seriously? That's what they're all about. Suck it.
They're like, we don't even need to like do anything else. This is a Conjuring movie. Everyone's gonna see it. It's funny. So this movie was directed by Michael Chavez, who did the what was it called? The
second worst movie in the Conjuring universe, the La Llorona, whatever one.
Yeah, I never even watched it. It was supposed to be so bad.
It looked so like formulaic from the trailer. I was like, that's just a James Wan ripoff movie. And then I found out after the fact that it was in the Conjuring universe, and I was like, oh, that's why it looks like a James Wan ripoff movie. It kind of makes sense that he's the one that the torch is passed down to, because he obviously understands the visual style that James Wan is going for. And nailed it with this one for sure. Like it looked like a Conjuring movie through and through. It just For me,
what was it?
I just have to say, James Wan knows how to, again, do that, the pulling of tension and making certain scenes scarier than they actually are. And this one used a lot of the tropes that were used in previous films, but didn't have that, like, James Wan-ism enough to actually make it a scary film. This one was like, I do want to use formulaic a little bit, because it did seem a little formulaic, but the story itself was interesting enough, and I like that they chose this case because it brought it more into the present. I love the 80s, and the fact that it was... I always just love that they're attached to real stories, and the fact that The Devil Made Me Do It was used in court, that's fucking dope. And I feel like having Vera Farmiga and what's his name, Patrick Wilson, bring it like they do. If they weren't in this, leading this movie, it would have been a complete mess. But because Vera Farmiga was there being fucking the powerhouse that she is, I ended up really liking this movie, man. Like, even though it wasn't scary, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So if you don't know, like, the 80s were a weird time in America, because they were like, the shit that happens in this movie, and they talk about the cult stuff that happens, and we won't spoil this. We'll go. We can spoil it at the end, but yeah, we're not going to spoil it here directly. There was a lot of cult stuff, and people were very, very paranoid about cult stuff back at this time frame. And I don't know if this case is what set it off, but like, it has a lot to do with like the state of America. And you go back and you look at the previous things that this real life couple, the Warrens did.
Yeah.
They talked about the Amityville, and then the case from Conjuring 2 with the family in England, which, by the way, if you've never done it, go watch the YouTubes of that family and the real interviews that they have, like, that they mock in the, not mock, but they do the movie version of them, and you go, whoa, because it's like the little girl going, I am Stanley, blah blah blah, you know, like the whole, like, where she's talking in this weird ass voice, and you go, this is pretty metal, man, because he's like, the shit's been documented. And not saying it's completely real or anything like that. That I'm not saying whatever, but I'm saying this stuff is all based on real facts. So you get like real cases. So you get this stuff and you translate it into the cinema. It's cool to see like what they based it off of, right?
They always end a Conjuring movie with that as well, and that's where, like, my wife is deathly terrified of Ghost, and this type of movie just fucks with her so much. And at the end of the movie, it was like, and now, like, here's actual audio. And she's like, and fuck you, and turns it off. She's like, you can rewatch that later. I was like, damn, I don't even think I listened to the audio. I didn't even know, like, I think I was like getting pretty beat by this point. Man, it's funny because someone was saying the little kid in the movie, yeah, he's only in horror movies just getting fucked up.
Like, yeah, I know. What else was he in? What was he in that was just... I'm trying to figure out where... Oh, yeah, Julian Hilliard. He was in The Haunting on Hill House. And what else? He was one of the kids on WandaVision?
He was in Color Out of Space.
He was in Color Out of Space, too. Yeah, so he was one of the Wanda's kids in WandaVision, too. But this kid has had
he's got a
traumatic,
crazy career already. Holy shit.
Yeah. In the last 3 years, he's been in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things, and most of them are horror. He was on The Haunting of Hill House. He was in Color Out of Space. He was in Penny Dreadful, which is a horror show.
Yeah.
And then WandaVision and Conjuring.
And then we got Sarah Catherine Hook from the SodaStream commercials.
What is a SodaStream commercial?
I don't know. I just for some reason was like, hey, isn't that the girl from the SodaStream commercial? Like, it's that like thing that you can put up and make your water like fizzy water or whatever.
Oh. She was on Nosferatu, which I still haven't watched, but I really like the book, which is It's on the. It's a book written by Stephen King's son, Joe Hill. And it was a pretty cool thing, but yeah. The cast of this movie is fucking dope, man. Like you were talking about, like Patrick Wilson. Yeah, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are both awesome. I'm not gonna spoil. This is like a minor spoiler. I don't know if I didn't even watch a trailer. I don't think, but Patrick Wilson, Ed Warren in the movie has a heart attack at the very beginning of the movie, and so he's playing like kind of an out of commission kind of dude, and it lets Vera even take over even more, right?
But I love her character and the fact that she's what is that called? Clairvoyant, and can see that stuff, and the visual style that they use to show that she's now talking to the other dimension and stuff. They really lay that on a lot thicker in this movie, and I fucking loved it. But I also love her, Bates Motel, and just going back on pretty much everything. She's just such a good actress.
They weren't able to build up the tension like the first two, like you were talking about. As soon as Josh messaged me right after he watched it, he was like, "It wasn't scary," and I'm like, I wasn't surprised because again, taking James Wan out of the equation is a huge deal. It is a huge deal. He is a fucking master.
Expensive fucking director now, man. He's only doing big franchises and
this motherfucker's doing Fast and Furious and Aquaman and all the shit he made
Warner
Aquaman badass.
Child now, right? This is still Warner Brothers, but he's the golden boy now. So
but the movie is the shitty premise besides from IMDb. It's about this guy who commits a murder in 1981, and then basically it was his girlfriend's little brother had been possessed, or they were being investigated for possession, and it comes over to this dude, and whether or not the movie's about figuring out whether or not this is why he stabbed this guy, who seemed like a weirdo anyways. I started saying, I was watching this movie and going, man, what did this fucking asshole do to these two in real life? What did he do to them? Because it feels like, do you ever hear about the Son of Sam, or the guy who was the Son of Sam killer, and he talked about how if he said he was talking to a dog, he was gonna get off and shit like that. So I'm always kind of dubious with things like this, where they're saying crazy shit to get away with doing something that's fucking bonkers. And the weirdest thing, honestly, the weirdest thing for me when this whole thing happens, and this is in the trailer, so this is not a real spoiler. So this murder happens, and then this dude gets found by a cop walking down the road just covered in blood. Where was this girlfriend of his who just watched him fucking stab this dude 22 times?
It's all good. Just go.
Yeah, just go. And she just doesn't.
She was making
that was the
man.
Yeah, that was the shittiest part of this thing. I'm like, why? I feel like this woman, if she really loved this dude, and this was some weird fucking crazy position, how did this dude just wander off and she didn't keep track of him? That was the weirdest part to me, right? I don't know how you feel about that. Were you this is a little weird at all?
Honestly, I didn't think about it until you brought it up, but now that you brought it up, it's oh yeah, but I'm sure her father just got fucking killed, so she was oh my god.
It wasn't her father. It was the
guy that they worked with. I thought that was her dad, though.
No, it was just some. I don't think it was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was her dad, man.
I don't. This fucking movie confused me a little bit, I guess. I don't know. I thought it was just some family friend that had the
his name was just Bruno, so it
probably
would have been
exactly.
Galette or Glatzel if it was her dad,
it wasn't her dad. It was just
Well, I don't know. I assumed for some reason, but they were just working for him at this thing, and he was a crazy alcoholic, and he was making the other guy drink with him because he's I don't want her to think that I'm a drunk, so you got to drink with me. Like that's definitely like, alcoholic reasoning right there.
Yeah, I'm sitting there. I'm like, really. But that was the weirdest thing with this,
they had
and that
good
was
fucking
probably
music in this too.
They did man, like, I don't know if calling it easy, but like nailing like really like period music when you have access to like libraries and stuff, as long as you want to pay for it. But you know, which is dope, but like that's the problem. That's the kind of shit that like 20 years down the line, people are gonna be like, man, I can't find the Conjuring 3 because, and it's like music rights. Music rights fuck shit up, man.
Really?
They fuck shit up in the long run, and it sucks. Cause like, you know how many video games and like movies are. I saw on like What Culture the other day about like 8 movies that are like impossible to find in like an order, and I've had a conversation in like the last few months with people who were trying to track down copies of Dogma. Like Dogma is out of print. Like you can't find Dogma in print.
Guess who I played Fortnite with on the weekend?
Who?
Jason Mewes.
You played Fortnite with Jason Mewes?
Yeah, dude. He streams Fortnite all the time on Twitch.
Yeah.
And he plays with his, like, I've been a part of his community, right? So I have him on Fortnite now. And he's like, yeah, we'll play again soon. I'm like, sick. So
dude, I watched
Jay.
Dude, I just watched Jay and Silent Bob reboot over the weekend, and it was dumb, but I laughed my balls off for like 2 hours.
I saw that I was theaters right before COVID, and Kevin Smith brought it, so it was like a more expensive ticket. So it was an evening with Kevin Smith with his movie. That was fucking dope, man.
Dude, I feel like I shouldn't have taken like I don't know. I waited too long because people shit on it, and I'm like, people shit on it because it was the one thing that was sad about that movie. I wish Mark Hamill would have showed up at the end as Cockknocker, but like
I feel like the one thing I have with that movie that is kind of cringy to me is we're all grown up, but they're still saying the same things that I don't think a grown-ass man would literally say. Like, I know these are the characters and stuff, and that was the only thing that I was just like I love the characters still, and I love the like funny things that they were getting into and everything, but it's just some of the things that they were saying, I'm just like, I really though? Would you? I guess.
Yeah, dude. That was it. All I could say was I was happy after watching Tusk, and I know a lot of people like Tusk. I don't understand.
It's
Tusk. Tusk is
it's so fun.
Tusk was bad, but to me, but nothing. Yoga Hosers is literally one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Yeah, and I'm just like,
take it back, just
Kevin,
take it back, please.
Yeah,
take it back.
Take it back, Kevin. Take it back. Like, to take a line out of Clerks 2, take it back. Take that movie back, and then like Men in Black wipe all our memories.
I can't believe he apologizes for Jersey Girl, because that movie is actually a good movie, and not apologize for Yoga Hosers. Like, I know he wants his daughter in a movie and stuff, but that's not doing her any justice.
No.
Being in a movie that
she was good. She was way better in this one. Like, and
totally. She actually had a role in this one too, though. That like
dude, am I the only one who watched Yoga Hosers and was like, it's like they're trying to do like Scott Pilgrim versus the World or like something like that. It was just like, but so incredibly bad. I'm like, Kevin Smith, I loved you. Why?
Loved. I love how you past tensed it, man. Like, I still love Kevin Smith, but if he's gonna continue, well, no, you know what? He made Jan Silent Bob reboot after, so he's redeemed himself in my eyes,
dude. And he had that motherfucker. This is a complete tangent again. That motherfucker pulled that shit where he put that Stan Lee shit at the very end of the movie to just like tearjerker you, man. And I'm like, oh man, that was some smooth shit there, Kevin Smith.
But he can stay in the horror world, man, because what was that fucking movie called?
Red State.
Yeah,
I still never seen all that.
It was so fucking good, man. Like, Red State was like, holy shit, this is a Kevin Smith movie? Like, fucking phenomenal. Like, he killed that.
Yeah, I think that was one of those movies that I started watching and then got distracted, and then like it was never streaming again, and I'm like, no, I have to watch it again.
Go out of your way to watch that movie again, because it is fucking really good.
So I have another question. So and this is, we don't have to specify this, but you can think about it, and when we spoil a little bit of it, we can talk about it. Do you think they set up a spin-off from this movie? Because I was trying to think about it, and the only thing I could think about was the like kind of third main character in this whole like thing was John Noble's character, who lots of people will probably know from. He was on Fringe, and then he was the king on Return or the Two Towers or Return of the King, one of the Lord of the Rings movies.
Well, this is a franchise like slaying franchise,
I know,
so they're going to continue and continue.
But that's what I was asking. Was there anything you could think of that in this that they thought they were going to thought that they could spin off? Because this movie didn't have as many like side stories like the other ones. Like this one didn't have those other characters, and I'm thinking the only thing they could probably do is that John Noble's Kastner's character and do a spin-off of him, and like as
there's no like Nun or Annabelle. Or the only they just used the devil trophy thing, and that was the trophy for this one to go on the shelf. But I don't know, like I think because James Wan wasn't directly attached to it, he wasn't thinking of Crooked Man and blah 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 and this and that like at the same time, because like I said, James Wan, the Saw franchise just made over $1 billion now. Like it's over $1 billion. Like he's probably gonna get close to that with the Conjuring universe now, and like he is. That's why he's the golden boy, because he makes franchises that make over $1 billion. Like that's fucking massive, dude. Yeah. Like,
how have they not done a Crooked Man movie yet? By the way,
they did.
Did they?
Yeah, and it went under the radar because it was a piece of shit.
I didn't even hear about that. Like in the Conjuring universe?
I'm not sure. I think they like meant for it to be, and it was so bad.
And it was so.
Like, go away. You can't be a part of our universe. It's not good enough.
Dude, that was because my wife had never. So it was funny because my wife had never seen Conjuring 2, and I realized as we were watching Conjuring 3, and I put it on afterwards, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, yeah, the Crooked Man is the creepiest part of this entire fucking movie.
Yeah.
Like,
it reminded me of the Babadook, like, for sure.
Yeah. The Babadook, man, that's a movie we should talk about at some
Crooked
point in this podcast, because
2016.
Isn't that after? That's before.
That's a different.
Yeah. There, the Crooked Man, because Conjuring 2 came out in like 17, I think. So, yeah. But man, like you said it, man. Patrick, it's funny because we have Patrick Wilson, who now is like, that's like all he does is like horror movies. Not all he does, but that's like what he's been like, gotten the big movies over the last 10, because he started like, he was in the Insidious movies and the Conjuring movies. He's done like some banger horror movies, and now like Vera Farmiga is just like, we talk about like all these horror movies, and you have these fucking actors who are like actually getting credit for being as good as they are in these movies, and these two just fucking killed it, like you said. And it makes you go,
they're the Warrens now. Like, I feel like they've done it.
Yep.
This is the third time around. They've also made appearances in other movies as these characters. Vera Farmiga being like from Bates Motel and just murdering that character too. She's just like, no problem. I can be Warren again. Let's go.
Yeah, man. It's funny because I like the other character who's kind of the big character in this movie is Arnie. Who is the devil made me do it. The person who claimed this in court. And I think he did a good job for what he had, but like the guy spent most of the movie, I feel like not, off screen. I'm not trying to ruin things. Like, he's in jail for most of the screen. I mean, this is a court drama, like a lot of, not a court drama, but it kind of feels like
CSI.
It kind of feels like a it kind of feels like a detective movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, instead of like a scary movie, but
I felt like the director really knew the story points that needed to be hit in order for this movie to have a good arc, and he was more worried about doing that than the scary parts of the movie. And I gotta bring up the one thing that really fucking overly stood out to me and my wife, and then also my buddy Ian, Activator on Twitch and stuff, is the gleam in their eyes. It was like distractingly bright. Like the lighting was amazing in this movie. The darks were super black, but every scene they had the brightest fucking glisten in their eye, like the brightest. It was distracting.
Was that
to
from?
Me.
Yeah. Was that from like lighting on the set just bouncing off their eyes and then not cleaning it up and
No. They
post?
do that so you don't look dead, because if you don't have those light eyes, especially when you've got overly dark scenes and stuff, the eyes disappear and then it makes the character look dead. So in order to make them look alive, you give them the light in their eye. But they went over fucking board with it. It was distracting.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole, like you say that and it's funny because that kind of shit has gotten into like fucking, like, I mean, J.J. Abrams. What do you think of when you think of J.J. Abrams? Lens flare. Like you use that thing and you overdo things and it becomes a weird running joke with people like again, J.J. Abrams. It's lens flare with every Star Trek movie because he so overly used it that you go, oh man. And it's like Zack Snyder. Oh, it's more slow motion. Zack Snyder is slow motion.
Super out of focus, everything.
Yeah. It's that near, like I saw something, it's all near focus, right? And then just let's use a near focus thing and then everything's happening 3 miles away. 3 miles away. So yeah, this, like, again, I feel like that this movie could have been a disaster. Like, I think it legitimately could have been a disaster because you taking James Wan out of this movie. And I think that I think you kind of pointed something out and I kind of was thinking about it. And then I forgot to say something because you were talking and I think there's no, you're fine. Cause I think that there's a problem, maybe not a problem, but we're at Conjuring number 3 and maybe the formula being there is starting to get a little old. You know, it's like that. It's like, you know what I mean?
It was there from the beginning, though. Like, these types of movies have been done again and again and again, not up to a James Wan level. I was just having a conversation with my tattoo artist about it today, and he hates all of the fucking movies in The Conjuring because of that reason specifically. It's just like, it's just a formula, and they're not fucking, he just, I don't know. I feel like the first one, he knew a few different, like, scary scenes, like the clap fucking scared it made me jump 2 or 3 different times when I saw it in theaters, and no movie makes me jump. So I was like going like this at the end. Hell yeah, James Wan, I bow to you. You're a fucking master of horror. Like, thank you for making something so polished and, like, I don't know. I overly enjoyed it.
I think that The Conjuring might have been, if you look at the movies from the 2010s, it's right up there with the scariest movies that came out. Like, and because I don't get scared at movies, like and you just build atmosphere in that movie so well, and it's like,
oh yes,
you just go, man, this. We talk about.
What was that, the first or second one with the blanket where she's like putting up the sheets and then the wind blows the blanket and it's like the ghost gets caught in the blanket?
I think it's the second one or first one. I think it's the first one because it has that. I don't know. I forget. Like I didn't watch all the second one
cool
again the other night. Yeah,
like, things that they do.
Yeah. Well, and it just feels like that lived in universe that we're talking about. Like, right? They do. That's one of those things that is such a fucking like asset for these movies. They take this real world setting and these real world people, and they again, James Wan, we talk about it all the time. James Wan is doing this thing where he's not treating the audience like idiots. He's sitting there going, you guys, like, these are real people and we're just going to go and put them in, and like, we're not going to have to show you every ounce of these people's stories. You can just kind of be like, okay, these guys are badass motherfuckers. Like, if you guys don't know, like, Ed Warren is like the only dude ever to be like approved by the Catholic Church to do exorcisms who wasn't a priest. Like, that's a bonkers thing. Like it's that the Catholic Church is very protective of stuff like that. And the fact that they were letting this dude do that, it just shows you what kind of pull they had in the universe that these guys live in, and which was the real world. They do a really good job of keeping you in that universe, right? So if you guys have HBO Max, or if you have a theater by you that's playing it, go see this. I have a hard time going to movie theaters when they're not Alamo anymore because I'm a spoiled brat. But yeah, I would go see this, and I think
I definitely recommend it, man. Like if you're into The Conjuring whatsoever, you're going to see this regardless. It's a big ticket movie, but it holds up in the universe very well. Yep. And to be honest, the universe doesn't have all good. No. Like The Nun was laughably bad. Like
it's one of the worst movies. Bad. It's there's not much to say good about that movie besides Vera's sister killing it. Vera's sister did a good job in that movie. Yeah. But there's not much else. I don't know how you make that character as boring as they did, but man, they did. They made that character
so scary boring. In The Conjuring, like so scary, and like all the things they did scary in The Conjuring for The Nun. They did bad in The Nun for The Nun. And I was like, what?
Dude, I still think that fucking those hands coming out from that painting to grab it and just fucking bum rush her is fucking terrible. It's funny though. My wife has a weird, she's never seen it and has a weird like habit of seeing things that most people don't notice. She's like pointing out the demon's name in The Conjuring 2, like right away. She's like, "Oh, look, that's his. Like, why is that spelled everywhere? Like, because his name's in the background of The Conjuring 2, the whole like movie, like it's in blocks spelled out, and like, and my wife's like, why is that there? And I'm like, man, my wife's how she picks this shit out is, I'm like, my brain's just like focusing on what what they want you to focus on, right?
Yeah, so, the misdirection, like a magician, right?
The movie isn't Psycho Gorman, but it's really, really good. So
I'm getting a Psycho Gorman tattoo. It's already been like, I've talked to my tattoo artist. It's happening for real. Like I'm actually getting a tattoo.
Dude, I had an idea, and maybe we do it sooner or later. We do a Psycho Gorman version of our mascot, like a murder moose Psycho Gorman. And I think it would be awesome. I just have to figure out like exactly what to do with it, but I've been thinking about that. So yeah, go see it. Horror, if you want to go to the theater, go see it. If you have HBO Max, which is completely worth it, and I think I'm getting it free with one of the 8 bajillion things I pay for other places. So
it's owned by so many different things, or it's like part of Crave in Canada and stuff. I think that's the only way you can get it in Canada is if you have a Crave subscription. So yeah, it's bundled in. You don't even have to go out of your way to see it. Just fucking watch it because we're going to spoil the shit out of it now.
It's again, not scary is if you're... I don't think anyone's going to be really horrified of this movie unless you're really a lightweight on horror movies. But it's just a good ride, and it's put together well, and it could have gone way worse than it did. So go watch it. The movie is a lot of fun. It's fun, which is all that matters right now, right? So... Yeah. Let's spoil the shit out of it. I
feel like
I kind of want to
after all was said and done with this movie, like saying what I did about he was trying to hit those story points rather than the scary points. I feel almost like it was maybe driven by the studio and the producers because they must have a big say in this universe because it is a fucking expensive universe to have a say in. So I wonder how much of it was actually more like a Disney movie where the directors are directing, but really the producers and everyone, Kevin Feige and everyone involved is actually directing it, and they like throw a bone to like a new director that gets a little bit of say.
And we know how Warner Brothers is, man. Warner Brothers are the ones who fucked with. They love to step on shit. And let's be real, like they took a director whose first attempt in this universe was not very good, right? Yeah. So they're like, okay, you're going to listen to us. And you go, I think this guy redeemed himself a lot. Again, La Llorona is, which I guess is also a Portuguese or something movie like there's another version of this movie that like the same legend is made another movie like that came out last or 2019 or something like that, like from another foreign country. So it'd be interesting to see how good that was, because I heard it was pretty good. But yeah, you take him and who had this kind of flop in that universe, and like I heard people talk about it not even being canon anymore. Like they're pulling canon out. And this guy did a really good job of kind of like recovering after that, right? So
which is good.
Like one bad movie doesn't mean you're a bad director. I mean, David Fincher's first movie was Alien 3. Alien 3. So,
but
which again, shows you, yeah.
But then after that movie, he knew better, right? Like he was a young director. He let the studio make bad decisions for him, and he then after that put his boundaries up and said, "I'm never letting that happen to me ever again, because I don't want my fucking name on that movie, because I didn't get to make my movie." So if Warner Brothers is stepping on too many toes, and like Zack Snyder said, I never want to work with them again, but I want to collaborate overly with Netflix because they were collaborative and like a breath of fresh air. I love Warner Brothers universe, and the fact that David F. Sandberg's in it, James Wan is in it, and that they have created these directors. I hope they learn, because they have a lot of properties that I hold dear to my heart, and if they're stepping on too many toes, they're going to make a lot of worse films that they could have potentially made good ones. So let the filmmakers fucking make films. That's all I got to say. Across the board. I know you got a lot of money tied up, producers, blah, blah, blah. Let the filmmaker, if you're putting them on top, let them be on top.
Yeah, let them do what they're doing, because they're, again, we talked about Snyder cuts. We talked about, like, dude, David, what happened to David Ayers with Suicide Squad was supposedly another, like the studio came in and just stomped on shit. Like Justice League, like we talked about this.
They're definitely going to let James Gunn do a James Gunn movie, because
because he's proven
himself.
He's
and
James Gunn,
paid top dollar to get him to do that, and he's proven himself again and again and again now. So I'm interested to see what he got to do with that.
Yeah, I think that they're stepping on smaller directors way more than they're stepping on like James Wan, right? Oof. So like I hope they learn their lesson with this stuff. Exactly. So yeah, this movie starts off with the Glatzel family, and their 8-year-old boy is possessed. So they're trying to deal with this. And this fucking kid, man, we talked about it, he's like was in like all these other horror properties, but this kid is fucking flopping around with shit. It's a little CGI-y, like at points at the beginning, but like it's creepy as fuck.
That claw thing when he's going down, and it's not only him trying to get upstairs, it's the demon within him clawing at the walls and making huge claw marks. I was like, that is fucking dope. Like that is really cool visually, like stunning and like jarring to see, because you're like, oh shit, that's like literally visually telling how fucking like
powerful this thing is. And it's like this thing it's pissed, man. You're entering in this universe.
Go on.
Okay. You're entering this universe where this kid they moved in this house, and this kid they've been there like, I think it was like 4 months. I mean, they go back and you get a flashback at one point. It's 4 months in between when they moved in, and this like actual, this actual like exorcism's happening. The Warrens have obviously been pulled in, and they're helping a priest and this family try to get this demon out of this kid. This is, I mean, you're at your worst part. The one priest is like, Ed Warren's like, we need to do this exorcism, and they're like, okay, we'll go get the car, and he's like, no, we need to do this exorcism now. Like Ed is like, this shit is bad, and we need to do it now. So they start trying to perform this exorcism, and this kid loses his goddamn mind. He's like, he's doing what the kind of what happened in the exorcism. He's splitting in half, and they over CGI'd it, but the kid is like a pretzel man.
look more like just fucking
more unhuman.
Yeah.
More inhuman, right? They're trying to make it look, and the kid does a really good job. And my favorite part of this whole scene, though, is he jumps on Ed Warren's chest and he's like, "You're gonna die." What's he say? "You're gonna die tonight," or "I'm
gonna fuck with your heart somehow," or it's something to do.
Yeah,
with
I'm
his
gonna
heart.
stop your heart.
Yeah,
yeah, and the Ed Warren actually has a heart attack, and it's one of the subplots of this movie. And unfortunately, this Arnie character is there, and he basically tells the demon to come inside of him.
Come in, and just come inside me.
I mean, you can't tell that to an 8-year-old. No, that's really gross, man. You're breaking a lot of boundaries here. No, yeah, and he basically the whole thing just stops. Like
it's because he loves this kid and he has so much empathy for him. Like they build that whole relationship up. Like when are you gonna like when he's not fully demonic and shit, he's like, when are you gonna fucking propose to my sister? And you can tell that the two characters have a really dope relationship. And then it's like a heartfelt thing. He's just like, no, I can't stand to watch him be in this much pain. Just fucking take me. And it was really heartful. And the only one that ends up seeing it is the Warren, who's fucking heart attacking on the floor. Like crazy.
Yeah, he's the only one who knows that this happens, so it doesn't happen right away. Like, man, this is the jump like forward a little bit, but not too much. Like, what kind of pisses me off about this movie, and I did watch the trailer, and now that I think about it, they have the creepiest scene in this entire movie in the trailer, and I hate when they fucking do this.
I know.
And it's the little kid in the waterbed.
Yeah.
And it's like the primary scene in the fucking the trailer, and it's like you're shooting your load.
Best parts of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, so this kid, they're moving to this house, and the kid, they're basically, you figure out later on, they're showing like a flashback what happened with this kid, and he goes onto this waterbed, and if you saw the trailer, you know it, and if you're listening now, you probably saw the movie, and the face comes up, and it's you don't see enough of it, and it's that quick, whatever, that's creepy as fuck, and then the hand pops out, and I'm like, how the fuck did they do that? Like, how did they pop it up? Like, they're like under the bed, obviously, like someone's sticking their arm through with this like really gnarly gray like paint, and you're sitting there going, man, they did this and they made it like incredibly creepy. I think it's the scariest scene in the whole movie. Like I said,
hands down. Hands down, because that's the only one that they actually built up and showed above, and the rippling of the waterbed. And my parents had that waterbed when I was growing up, and same with my wife's parents. Like everyone in the fucking 80s had this fucking waterbed, and to think of it like the wall scene from Nightmare on Elm Street, and like like it was done to that level of awesomeness. But the only fucking scene, like there was a few other like grabby scenes attempting to get a jump scare out of you. Where I was just like, I know I'm desensitized, but like, where is the scary parts?
Well, it's because they set up a really cool concept. Like, so that scene that is when they're like Lorraine Warren is investigating, and they're explaining what happened when the kid started feeling goofy and everything, and they figure out that. They're like, oh yeah, they left the water. Where was the waterbed? And they show her in like they pull up the carpet there, and there's a spot on the floor, and they're like, oh, it's water damage, and she's like, no, that's not water damage. It's demonic damage, right?
It's demons.
I don't know if they just said it wasn't water damage, right?
I'm just being gross today.
I mean, dude, that's usually my job, so I'm proud of you.
Because I just got tattooed, and my artist is like, he does it the whole entire time, and that's the awesome comedy he loves.
So when when I was getting my sleeve done, my artist was like, he kept going, if you don't stop moving, I'm gonna draw a penis, I'm gonna draw a dick in you, and you're never gonna know. And he fucked with me for months, and it was hysterical. But yeah, so Lorraine goes underneath the house, and Ed still is fucked up because this is after he's recovered from his heart attack and he's gotten out of the so we'll go over like, so that happens where like before all this happens, the Arnie is to this place he's living with, what's her name, Debbie, and they're living in this like dog kennel shelter, and the guy that they're living with is a drunk ass, like you said before, and Arnie ends up stabbing him to death, and stabs him 22 times. You figure out later, and then the other scene from the trailer where he's like walking down the fucking road covered in blood, and the cops find him. So like he's in jail, and they're saying they're gonna try to execute him. This happens, and they're in. So like basically, Lorraine's and Ed are trying to figure out what happened. They go in, they get him to read the Bible, and if he was possessed, he couldn't do that, supposedly. And so they're like, I don't know what the fuck this is. But they go the scene with the kid that we were talking about happens, and she goes under the house, and there are a bajillion rats. Like if any there's enough rats under this house to start the fucking plague, the Black Plague. There's like 1,000 rats in this fucking house. And they find this totem, which was used as a demonic focus point rad, kind of thing.
By the way, like the look of them, they got it, and those were creepy as fuck looking, and like they're probably it's based on true accounts and stuff. So it's like they took like an animal skull and like made it into this fucking Satan looking thing device that's like it's like a demon homing beacon, right? Like it's a you put this here and you call like it calls a demon to the spot, and they figure out later that it basically means that wherever this was put, two things had to happen. Like they had to kill someone. Whoever gets possessed has to kill someone, and then has to kill themselves. And the little kid was trying to kill his dad when he was still possessed at the beginning of the movie. He fucking stabs him in the fucking leg with like a piece of glass, like a little, like the kid is fucking just stabbing motherfuckers. You gonna eat ice cream today? Why, Daddy? 'Cause you stabbed me in the leg, you little bitch. No, just 8-year-olds stabbing people with fucking glass. And yeah, so then like a lot of this movie after that is like they go in and they figure out that there was Lorraine takes pictures of this idol and has their like assistants send it out to all the local cops, the police stations, and they figure out that a similar case happened in like Boston or something. Like it was like 100 miles away, but they go to this cop and he's like, you're helping me, I'm not helping you. Yeah.
So they basically, he's like, what are you fucking I'm not here to help you. There were two girls that one of them had gotten stabbed 22 times, which was a cool like byline that they didn't point it out while you're watching the movie. But yeah, both characters were stabbed 22 times. And they had found one of this like same kind of like idol in this girl's stuff. And Lorraine basically helps them track down. She goes to this where they found the body and has a real creepy scene with what had happened. And you were talking about earlier, her powers were kind of like
clairvoyant.
It's like daytime in the real world, and then she's like at night, and you figure out that it does a real good job of doing that, like where she is and like transporting her into that like moment, right? And she, they basically like, she was in the body of this girl who stabbed this other girl 22 times, who then ran off a cliff, and Lorraine almost went off the fucking cliff, which is another scene from the movie, from the trailer. They figure this out. They get fucking Patrick Wilson, Ed Warren almost dies because he doesn't have his medication from like, sorry, Ed. Take your goddamn medication because this motherfucker almost dies
like 3 different times.
3 times. Yeah,
and they're all from. They do at the end, bringing it together. Yeah, like that. Literally, he can't live without her, and it's like shown and very like a hug and like showing that they're just like a team, like crazy. But
it's such an important thing because I think that you point out with these two super dark characters, dark in the fact that they live in this dark world, that they need, like, they're there with each other, and they what do they say, that our love is our strength, not our weakness, or whatever.
Yes.
And which is a real cool thing. So they go
in a horror movie.
Yep. Yeah, and what's funny is these two are like they were together forever, right? So then they want to investigate the body of the girl who jumped off that Lorraine had been in. So this was actually probably another really one of the creepier side of things. They go to this hospital or this morgue, and they break in, but like Lorraine like grabs this dead girl's hand, which was, dude, there was way too much hand left because this girl had been in the fucking like reservoir for 4 months or something insane like that.
Well, I like how they made her look like a slug almost, like she had been retaining water for a long time in her skin, and it turned into like this gray, almost seal-like skin. Yeah.
But the best part of this whole thing is when she's doing this and she sees this woman who was probably one of the biggest weaknesses with this movie is this, how they developed this character, but like the villain character. And I didn't want to talk about it before we were spoiling it because it kind of goes off, but and she's having this, like, she goes, oh fuck, this woman can see, like, she's on like Lorraine's level of power.
It's like a Skype call.
Yeah. They're Skype calling and she can't let go. While this massive motherfucker, this is a big old dead boy. This guy is like 6'5", 350. This is a big motherfucker. Yeah, like gets up off of the tape. Yeah, and like it's like, you know, like fat football players when they're trying to tackle the quarterback is kind of what it reminded me of. But he's naked as fuck at the same time. And like,
honestly, that's what I always say. Like, horror movies that use nudity as a horrific thing, it works just the same as like slasher films using it as like, you know, the sexy thing it can be as well. Like using it like what was that fucking metal witch movie? Like, she was coming towards and she's old and like gross looking but naked, and it's just, it adds a layer of like terror because you're like, oh fuck, like you don't know how to defend yourself against like a wang coming at you as well. It's like, oh fuck, like
well, dude, think about it, man. The Shining. And the fucking most horrifying scene in that entire movie is when he's making out with that fucking hot young chick, and then he opens his eyes, and it's this
mirror. Yeah, it's like
decaying, old, like rotting corpse, and you're like, argh! And this isn't that creepy, but it's that kind of thing where it's like you're like, argh! And you're using it as a like, it's fucking horrifying, and. So all this leads that at some point they meet this they go find this priest who is played by John Noble, who I talked about earlier, was in Fringe and Lord of the Rings, one of the Lord of the Rings movies, and he was a priest who had investigated this cult for like 10 plus years. Now that we're sitting here, he was the character I said like that they could maybe do a prequel with him or a spinoff with him investigating this cult. Like, totally. Like, I mean, we're talking spoilers. He gets capped at the end of this movie by his own daughter, which is fucked up. But like, he was like the only character.
Just how ruthless she actually is, and how fucking just messed up.
Yeah, I just wish they would have done like given her more like you don't know anything about her at the end besides that she was she like got obsessed with this dude's like books and shit. Yeah. But yeah, so
the
he kind of helps.
The story is like, you gotta watch how your children are around you and your obsessions, like, because it could fucking go real bad.
Yeah, because this girl was kind of raised in isolation because the priest had this woman on the side who died during childbirth, and so he couldn't let her out because like then he would lose everything because he was a priest with a kid, you know. So he kept her there, and the problem with him keeping her there was she became obsessed with all of his like occult material, and yeah, this dude was fucked up after that because he was like, he dealt with them for what he said 10 years. And like after that happened, he retired and lived in this farmhouse. And I still think one of the funniest scenes in the whole movie, like they show up to this dude's house and he's like, Ed like puts his hand out and he's like, I'm covered in chicken shit. And he like, and
yeah.
John Noble has this. Yeah, John Noble has this really unique voice that I've always loved, and like whenever he's doing it, it's you know it's him, right? Yeah. So they basically like when this Lorraine was in this vision with this woman, she gets enough details to kind of figure out where this girl lives, and the problem was though, Lorraine had gone there earlier to talk to Kastner again, and this sets up the whole like and this final act of this movie where like it gave me again, I just brought The Shining up. There's like a lot of Shining kind of like keys in this movie because like so what they have to destroy this girl's or this woman's shrine or Arnie is going to basically kill himself. And so he's in prison, like locked up, and there's like the prison chapel is like trying to like calm him down with the Bible. While Lorraine is running around the bottom of this farmhouse, there's like these underground tunnels underneath it. And the woman, Kastner's daughter, is running around too, but it's this weird thing. Like she does like voodoo kind of like on Ed, right? Like Ed shows up and she blows this dust in his face.
Yeah.
And he goes fucking Jack Nicholson in The Shining, but with a sledgehammer. He's like chasing Lorraine around with a fucking sledgehammer and trying to fuck her up. And you're sitting there going, it's they do that. They have this. I really didn't like one of the physical things that I didn't like about this movie was how they showed possessed people, and they do that generic like
over their eyes.
Like their eyes get dark and then they get the veins popping out around them. It's just like I wish you could have done something a little more unique, but so Ed chases her around, and then
it's so you don't have to question it whatsoever. It's just like that's for the dumb audience. Yeah. And so like she's like pleading with him, and like that you go back to the love is our strength thing, and he breaks out of it, and then like somehow they're magical. This was also goofy. He breaks
they're
out
like
of it with
at
a
the
boner, man.
Yeah. And he breaks out right in the altar, and he just smashes it, and then Lorraine gives him a mighty blowjob for not beating him up, and then everyone's happy. No. But
from behind.
So so like the I did kind of like the ending here though too, because then they're like the daughter of Kastner is like, after she slit her dad's throat before, like when Lorraine was in the tunnels looking for this altar, but Ed's like, you fucked up now. You promised this demon 2 souls and you only give him 1. And so like the demon fucking destroys her. Like he folds her like a
that was dope, by the way. He's just like, he's just like, by the way, fuck your shit.
You know what that reminded me? It reminded me of the end of Ghost, where all the demons come to get that dude and like pull him in. It was kind of like that, but like more grotesque, because they're like she's like folding in half for real, like the kid at the beginning, but like way more like in half,
fully to take her soul, because he was there to get his shit. You fucking owe me, bitch. Give me yourself. I got the guy that got stabbed to death, but you owed me another soul to suicide, and bitch, you're coming with me. That's why you don't sign contracts. Like,
what?
She slit his throat. Doesn't that count? Like, I don't know. What was that about? It was just like, oh, you're getting in my way. Shut up. Like, doesn't that count?
Yeah,
as a
that
soul?
was
like, I don't know. Like, if you count, she did kill.
I think because while the altar
but
was
she
still
didn't
up,
kill him through the thing.
Yeah,
Like,
it needed to be a suicide. And because Arnie couldn't kill himself, even though he tried at one point, like that was weird too. Like the priest gave him when he was in prison,
glass
he gave him the
like he's on suicide watch. Here's some glass, like dumbass.
Yep. And I was like, what the what? And he almost kills himself. And I did kind of like how he starts like, it's kind of like stereotypical, but like at the end, Arnie's trying to kill himself. Like he breaks out of his hand. He was kind of metal when he pulls his hand out of the handcuff. Like he's like turning into like a human snake or some shit. Yeah. And like he starts floating because he's possessed. So he starts, and he's sitting there and he's like holding like a giant chunk of glass to his neck. And while the girlfriend like holds him back and
jail. Like if all the people watching in the jail don't believe that he's actually possessed by this point, what the fuck else does he have to do to get out of these charges? Like it's literally
that's the best part of it because this happens. Fucking Ed doesn't have his pill, and Lorraine has like the picture of him in the locket and like gives him a pill that she was keeping with her. But
she's
so he lives
than
in
him.
love.
He has this. Yeah. He's almost died already, and he doesn't just have like a mini thing in his shoe or something now. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah. So then the last part of the movie is they went to trial, and Arnie still got 5 years. They basically got him off because he didn't go to the execution. He didn't get executed, but he still served 5 years in prison for this.
Well, he still like him. His
I know.
Like, I get it. Like the person, the body was still, did the manslaughter. So he instead of for murder, he only had to do 5 years for manslaughter. Which honestly, I it's cool, and that's the whole thing that it was wrapped around this real life story is what makes this movie good. If it wasn't wrapped around this real story, this movie wouldn't have been good, man. Like it would not have been a good movie. But
it's
got like some like 70%
realism
or something, or 60 something on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. It should it's got a 6 point something on IMDb. Like that's where it should be, man. Like
they do a good job. Like it was like I had a fun time with it, and as I'm saying, and it's just it's such a fucking high bar because of what is what's happening right with the first one and this one, and the Mitchells versus the Machines is the name, by the way, as I'm looking on
Mitchells. Yes, that's what
it is. But so it is. Yeah, it's the movie's awesome. Like, oh fuck, this movie is actually the critics didn't like it. So the tomato meter is 59%. So the critics are like, fuck this movie, but the audience are at 85%, which shows you exactly. This movie was a popcorn, cool horror movie that wasn't very scary. But I am so like. It is so rare for me to go into a movie and actually be scared that like a horror movie not being scary isn't usually a detractor for me because I'm just not used to horror movies actually scaring me. You know what I mean? Sure. And so it's like one of those things where it's like I
see tension build and I see things done right. Like if you're not doing that, you're not doing the horror and this genre, this subgenre of horror justice. Like, and that's where I love Annabelle creation because it is nothing but that on top of each other. Like, boom, boom, boom. Watch that again, man. Well, and to be honest, everyone just watch Mitchells versus the Machines. It's 98% on Rotten Tomatoes with good reason because it's fucking amazing.
Yep. Well, dude, that's why that fucking A Good Woman is hard to find. I still think was one of the better movies we've talked about on the show because that movie was literally 90 minutes of like tension, which like we're talking about this movie not doing that like tension right. That movie, you were on the edge of your seat for the entire movie. And I'm just like, ugh. Like that movie fucked with me because of the tension. It wasn't scary, but it was like tension. And that's like a thing, like you can do that and you can make these movies tense the whole time, but like they didn't manage to do that. Like, again, the movie was a lot of fun and a good time, but like it wasn't scary. Like the first Conjuring was one of the scary movies the last decade. I don't get scared very often, like I said, but that movie was fucking as terrifying as most movies get for me most of the time. So.
Yep, same, dude. Yep. And like I said, I know the formula of jump scares, and James Wan is self-aware of that formula, so he fucked with the timing a bit, just enough that it caught me off guard in that respect. I was like, fuck, you got me, man. Kudos. Like it earned a kudos because it deserves it, man.
Yeah. Did this movie even have a jump scare? I don't even know if it had a jump scare.
When she was on the edge of the cliff and then the hand comes up and grabs her, that was like one of the only standout jump scares. And a lot of the other ones that I think were an attempted jump scare were down in when she came out and blew the dust on his face or something. I guess that was, but that was like a nun level jump scare where it was like, oh, that's your jump scare? Fuck you, nun. Yeah, I hated that movie, man.
Dude, the nun is a garbage fucking film. A garbage film. And if you like it, cool. But man, I fucking hate that movie. That movie fucking the worst crime in cinema to me, and I've heard someone else say this and I completely agree and I've taken it up as a motto myself, is for a movie to be boring. And that movie is boring.
Oh, you can't see it.
I can't see it. Yeah, it's not focusing. Josh is trying to show me his tattoo. Oh my God. Just send that picture to me in Discord.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, man. So, did you end up watching? We're gonna next week is Audition. Did you end up watching it before this happened? Like,
no, I'm gonna wait for it to be fresh in my mind.
Dude, I rewatched that on Monday, so I am very excited for you to dive into this movie because that movie is so odd for an American, like for like an American perspective, but cool. The guest we'll tell you next week. That's going to be worked out. So, okay, everybody. Next week, Audition 2000. It's on Shudder is where I watched it. And so it's 90 minutes, man. And I was looking at it. The fucked up shit is probably the last 30 minutes. That's all. That movie is a weird drama for the first hour, and then goes. There's some fucked up shit that happens, but it's mostly just a drama. And
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm actually like, because I don't know, man. Like I've said before, because it is one of those movies that is on everyone's list as like one of the most fucked up, blah blah. Now that I'm like in this show with you and I'm like diving more into foreign movies and stuff. I was more scared of what was that, Tension? Like that movie fucked me up, man. Like but it's tension filled, and like it was just that whole decapitation scene on the stairs. I don't know what it was, because maybe it was foreign and there was really fucked up.
Oh, you mean High Tension? Yeah, High Tension. Yeah,
High Tension fucked with my head, man. Like that. Then it goes into the closet right after that, and I don't know if it was I just got lost in the movie, and I don't normally do that. That movie really sat with me for like weeks even.
Yeah.
So
dude, that movie has when we do some French horror, because I think I kind of like the pattern of doing like a bunch of movies from one country, because it gives us that like base of like comparison, like for a larger like film selection from a country.
A buffet,
and I think that like going into we did a bunch of Korean movies, and now we're diving into a bunch of Japanese movies, and it makes me happy because Japanese cinema is weird, man. I enjoy it a lot, but it's fucking weird. So, okay, buddy. Yes, we're murdermoose.com. Come join our Discord. Come give us a 5-star review on iTunes or something, wherever you're listening to us.
On iTunes or something.
Yeah, wherever you're listening. Give us a follow on Spotify, and talk talk to us on Twitter. We're Murder Moose Pod on Twitter, and you could give us movie suggestions or tell us we're awesome. I don't know if you want to tell us we're awesome, but we're here if that's what you want. So.
We're here for it, man. Just fucking stroke our dicks.
Stroke them, and then we'll get to come too. Just like that guy from Skull the Mask who wanted to come so badly that he kept fucking his big titty dead girlfriend that or whatever she was. We need to come too. So help us come. Release our balls. We don't want blue balls. Blue balls are bad.
Exactly.
So, okay. Josh, I love your face. And I think I need to go to bed. So okay. I will see you next week, and we'll see all you guys next week. And I'm starting to blabber like a fucking moron. So
see
here we
you
are.
Next Thursday, cunts. See you next Thursday.
Cunts. Okay. Have a good one, everyone. Bye!